really would be so easy to get your ego in the way and decide what you think it should be. And the more you can listen and be open to others is really where the creativity starts to like build, and to have the rapport with your team that you can challenge each other and then iterate. The first thing you come up with is going to have some great ideas. It's going to need some work, and getting that team really ready to iterate on how you can create something special and think bigger. That's where you really start getting somewhere, and the fun really begins at that point, because and spending the time being maybe somewhat uncomfortable without having it nailed down. It's kind of human nature to just drive. Let's get this thing designed. Let's go to the next step. No. Slow down, spend the time getting it right. And then you have an incredible foundation for the rest of the project.
Today I'm joined by Murphy McCullough, President and CEO of Skanska USA Commercial Development. We talk about how Skanska designs mixed-use places that people actually want to be in, from activating the ground floor and supporting wellness to making tough decisions that keep projects flexible, future-ready, and valuable over time. Hello, Murphy. Thanks for coming on with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Hi, Uncle Murph. How are you?
Hi, great. Lexi is my niece, so this is really special. It's
Yes,
awesome.
it's awesome. It's amazing having you as a role model. So I'm excited that you're here today.
Well, that's one of the great things with the UW department in real estate. We get a lot of first generation people coming into real estate. We get a mix of people whose family has been in it, either in different fields in architecture and construction and different planning methods. So I love the opportunity to have you both here today and to talk about Skanska and your work there. So from what I've seen, Skanska places a high priority on creating ground floor spaces that function as community anchors. Murphy, can you tell us more about what you guys do as building a place and not just a building?
Yeah, we do spend a lot of time really looking at each development, almost from like an urban planning perspective first. So, we don't just look at like what do I want with the building. It's much more, and which is an interesting filter. It's much more focused on, what do our customers want here? And when I say customers, like I think we think about customers quite different. It's not just the tenants and maybe the investors that buy our buildings. Um, it's much broader than like that. So it includes the community, it includes the city, it includes really anybody that has a stake. And so we spend a lot of time really trying to figure out, what is going to work in this place, with the community, the city, and our tenants. What can we create where everybody really can win with that development? And so, that really means that we need to start very early, trying to focus on, how we can get there. And that means a lot of collaboration. We end up like, say we're looking at a site, a piece of land, we start very early on what does this place want to be and really why. So we don't just focus on, we have an office building and we think these tenants want to go here. We really see it as a long-term community asset. And that if we do the right thing on the ground floor, it not only really enhances the community, it's a huge amenity for our tenants. And so those things really come together. And so every project, and we do this across the country and the world. I'm going to focus more on Seattle, as we talk here today, just because I'm from here. I've worked on a lot of developments here. And I think the folks that are the students and others that are listening to this will probably really understand, more based because they can, they've probably seen some of our developments here. So, and I just think, as you've talked about the community, most people know a building by its ground floor. You like usually don't go hey, I'm going to, let's meet at so and so, and the top of the building looks like this. No, you're really focused on, what retail is on the ground floor or what community space might be there. That's where you're going to meet, somebody from the community. So we get really hyper focused on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
and ground floor are expensive to build out, and yours are built at a very high level. How do you balance market demand, tenant mix, and curate these great ideas and drive value?
yeah, it is an interesting perspective. I mean, one, we do see retail as an amenity. It's very difficult to make retail be a big money maker. And it's not really our focus, and the reality is when you look at the big picture, if you really do the right thing on the ground floor, you get the right retail tenants in, you create great community space, like 400 Fairview in the Market Hall, the building I'm in now, you really amplify what the building's about and you sell that vision to office like tenants who end up paying more rent by the way to be there. So it does pay for itself. It's just not a direct link to the retail. And so if you really focus on retail as an amenity, it really changes the game on what you're trying to like do. And of course, you need to be careful because every site, every community is different. And you need to serve the community and the building with the right retail tenants that are going to work there. And you're doing everybody a disservice if you create way too much retail or the wrong retail, or the retail spaces are secondary, so they're not really planned correctly. You're setting things up to fail, and actually it's going to really hurt your office. Say you're doing an office building, you're really going to hurt your office building long term because you're going to have an empty ground floor. So it really is something you spend a lot of time on, really figuring out that merchandising plan, like what are the different tenants that you envision going in there that is going to amplify, that space for the community, for the city, for our tenants, and something that's really thinking about it long term.
Amazing. Kind of going into like the health and wellness part of it, how do you integrate wellness principles into the entire development in ways occupants truly feel?
We That's a great question, and it is something that we, is definitely something our customers are focused on a lot more. The communities are focused on that a lot more as well, which is great because for so long, sustainability was really much more focused on checking a lot of boxes, and it's definitely been going over the health and wellness, which is what people feel, when they're in a building. And I would just say, I'll talk about the eight a little bit, but some things that are very apparent with that building, and we have a 77,000 square foot site. We early on um, focused on, okay, how can we really create something different here? We didn't just fill the site with a giant podium. We have the tower coming all the way to the ground, a bunch of outdoor open space, with great landscaping and retail, and really great outdoor space into something we're calling the living room. That's a community space for the tenants and for the community as well. And we really decided to move that all the way up the tower. So it's not just on the ground floor. So our like office tenants have decks every third floor going all the way up the tower as well. And when you really look at that at the site and you get up in the tower, you can't believe how close you are to the foothills, of the Cascades. They're right there, and it's kind of shocking when you're down in the city. You don't feel it as much, but you get up in the building and you really want this access to nature. I would say some other things we're really focused on light, trying to get light as deep into the floor plates as we possibly can. Um, some of the other things, we do really focus on almost like a spa-like locker rooms with, showers, a place to like dry your wet clothes if you've biked into work, a saunas, and an incredible gym with a workout like space where you can, if you have time, come down during lunch, work out, with the trainer there as well. So, it is something that almost feels somewhat like a hotel. It's something we've been talking about a lot, and a lot of others too. But it is a very hospitality focused. And it used to be there was lots of focus with an ops building on how much load, like how much amenity space, because that's expensive. Because tenants pay rent on every square foot you build in an office building. Now it's kind of the exact opposite. They have no problem paying for it because this is what they want. And so we have like extensive amenities, many of them health and wellness focused, and our tenants just can't get enough, which is great. And we've leveraged off our Scandinavian roots. There's lots of focus on saunas and health and wellness in the communities over there. So we've definitely riffed off of the time we've spent overseas, hanging out with our colleagues at Skanska across the world. So,
Awesome. I think that's so important for well-being to be integrated into this. So that's awesome. Also going to collaboration. What does effective early stage engagement look like when building community-driven, flexible, and high-performing mixed-use developments?
yeah, I would say, it really is getting the right team early. I think is just incredibly important for what you're trying to like do. I mean, most developers have their own way about going about, doing things. With what we're trying to like do and really create special places for the community and our tenants. We really need a design team that is open, you know, to be like, very, very pushed by like us, very, very pushed by the community, and pushed like back with us to really create the best we possibly can. We don't really want team members that just show up and think they know inherently what it should be. We want to co-create together and collaborate together based upon what we're hearing from the community together, what we're hearing from our tenants, what we're hearing from the city. And so our concepts typically come up, similar to that, with, born from the location. And then we start to really put something down on paper together. Though sometimes you really have to know what you don't want. Like, we have had design teams come in and really, like I said earlier, decide that they know what really is what should be there. That hasn't worked great for us. And so we do spend a lot of time. How do we get the right team? You know, the right architect, the right landscape architect. We spend a lot of times, with interior architects designing things from the inside out first. It's always the inside out first. It needs to work from the customer standpoint first, and then we go to the outside in. And making sure you're not over designing to the market, but you're not under designing too, is something that's really important for us. And just listening. I mean, listening is just a very, very big thing. It's so easy. It really would be so easy to get your ego in the way and decide what you think it should be. And the more you can listen and be open to others is really where the creativity starts to like build, and to have the rapport with your team that you can challenge each other and then iterate. You can't, the first thing you come up with is going to have some great ideas. It's going to need some work, and getting that team really ready to iterate on how you can create something special and think bigger. That's where you really start getting somewhere, and the fun really begins at that point, and spending the time being maybe somewhat uncomfortable without having it nailed down. It's kind of human nature to just drive. Let's get this thing designed. Let's go to the next step. No. Slow down, spend the time getting it right. And then you have an incredible foundation for the rest of the project. We are lucky at Skanska, we are self-funded. There are some things that help us, be able to kind of do those like things. We do have to answer to a lot of people, don't get me wrong, internally, for approvals and things, but we do have a lot of support for that. And, our value set is so focused on this as well. So that support is really, really helpful too. That allows us to go do the things that we love to like do. So.
So, kind of going along with that, because mixed use projects are so complex, from a leadership standpoint, what decision making principles allow Skanska to create flexible, future proof buildings that maximize long term value?
Again, our value set really is supportive of us, thinking the way we do. We really do have a huge customer focus, you know, philosophy at Skanska. You know, we're 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 very much focused on care for life, which not only is focused on safety, so we're a construction company too. So we're actually designing safety into our buildings so we can build them safely as well. Sustainability is just incredibly important to us. In Europe, it's quite a bit different over there. They actually have taxonomy and things there where if you don't build in a certain way, you get taxed. And so, for us, we don't have that, but it is definitely something that we find tenants, especially investors too, that are really focused on something that's a very long-term vision. So long-term vision is something that is a very green building. And so we focus on very high quality long-term assets that when you do focus on the community and the city and your neighbors and your tenants and the folks that might buy your building someday, you're really looking bigger. You're making sure that you're making all the right moves. So for instance, like when you develop an office building, often when you first start to lease, like you typically lease full like floors. I mean, that's just the way it typically works. And you're often leasing to somebody like you might lease 10 floors. But as the building ages and leases start to roll, the floors start to become multi-tenant. So it's very important to be designing your floor plates so they can be multi-tenant. So things like that might not be apparent right off the bat, but when you're looking very long term, are incredibly important for the asset to continue to do well. That's something we really focus on. The financial rigor is incredibly important. We need these projects to make sense financially, and that takes a lot of work. That like I said earlier, like we don't want to have too much retail. We've all made mistakes in our career where we have done some of that in the past at other companies and things where we've built too much retail and it can backfire, or we didn't do the homework enough on how much amenities to provide. I've done a number of buildings where we didn't amenitize enough. So you really start to learn that the more homework you can do up front, you really are going to set yourself up for success long term. And again, the team is just having a team approach and getting the right team together just pays off an incredible amount over time. Getting, and there's different every project, we typically do go out and look for a new design team. Often we'll hire the same folks, but every site is different. Every project is different. And so we are trying to find folks that really get, you know, what potentially could happen here and have a rapport again of being able to frankly be strong enough to iterate and be like pushed and be strong enough to push us, because it's not really focused on us and what we want. It's really more focused on our customers and how we can create something special and long lasting for them.
Well, you mentioned collaboration, team building, and again, Skanska builds quite a product. Your building's around a long time. And what I love too is how people get into the industry. I mean, obviously we're at different stages, it's great having Lexi as a student and seeing, from her architecture background and I came in through construction. Tell us a bit about you. How did you get into the industry?
Yeah, so I was at the University of Washington. I graduated from there, and I was looking for what my degree, what I wanted to like do, and it was I was really looking at architecture for a while, and I was very interested in business, so I was contemplating those two. And my brother was going through the construction management. It was called building construction at the time. He was going through that, and it really was something right in between. And so I got really interested in that after spending time with him and talking with him. And so I went through and got a construction management degree. And then my first project, I was lucky enough, as I've been lucky for quite a bit of my career, I was lucky enough to get a job building Harbor Steps, the structural staircase park between First Avenue and Western, as well as the first multifamily tower. Uh, so I was working on site in the office building that. But what I found the most interesting was working with the developer there. Um, we had a great construction team. I had some great mentors. And once that project was built, First Avenue at that time wasn't really a super safe place. There was lots of things going on there. This was like 1993. And I saw that project absolutely transform that part of the neighborhood. And three more phases were built after that. I built another one after that too. But to see a project like that change the community in the way it did, really, I mean, I knew what I wanted to like do at that point, and I started working to move over to real estate development. I worked for another developer after I went through the real estate certificate program with Bob Philly. So that was great. They didn't have the Runstead Center at the time, so and that really opened by like mine. And then I went to go work for Hines, did 2 million square feet of office, including Fourth and Madison, and then went to work for Tarragon, and then Skanska in 2011. So, and I've been lucky enough just to have some great mentors, some great managers, and be at the right place at the right time. Some of it is luck with the right market at the right time, and so yeah, I feel very grateful and fortunate to be able to have the career I've had, and um, we still got some great stuff going on, and we can't wait. We actually have another development here right next to the 8 in Bellevue called Bevel that we hope to break ground in the next couple of years, and we're looking for more land here. So it's exciting.
Good, good. And you mentioned the construction, man. So I was there under building construction, and then I came back a couple of years later to get my master's, and it changed to construction management. So I've got my BCon hard hat
I
sitting
have
there
that
from
same one.
graduation. So somewhere I got my graduation photo around here too. But so you mentioned there wasn't the Runstead Department of Real Estate now that there wasn't back there back in the day, and people found real estate or development different ways. So you were on the Runstead board. So how did you find out or get connected with the Runstead board?
Yeah, so I through the years I've come in and spoke, at some classes and some other things. And then actually Peter Orser wanted to tour. He called me up and wanted to tour and you. So, I took during construction. This was probably 2018, I think, maybe even 17. And so we went on a tour, and then he asked me, would I be interested in joining the board? And of course, I love the University of Washington. I struggled myself finding the right real estate program. I mean, the certificate program was great, and it really opened my eyes, and I was absolutely grateful for it. But at the time, if the Runstead Center was there, I would have definitely jumped at the chance for that. So I could see the gap, and to be involved with that in my mind was something that I jumped at the chance with when he asked me. And it's been great to be involved. I would say, my current position, I am traveling a lot. I am in Europe and traveling nationally a lot. So I am trying to be as engaged as I can, but I'm maybe not as engaged as I was a few years ago, given this newer role. I guess it's going on 3.5 years now. So
Tell us more about that role. Like, what kind of does your position entail and what your day to day looks like?
so I like it really does vary depending upon what time of year and what's going on. Like for instance, right now, we are a public company in Sweden, so I am preparing our business units quarterly report, of course, with many others like our CFO, um, and like his team. We're finalizing that, which will actually go to Sweden tonight. So because we have our call with the board on Wednesday next week. So there's a lot of work there. I am president and CEO of the business unit here in the United States for commercial development. We're focused on office, multifamily, and labs mainly in Boston. We're in DC, Houston, Seattle, and Boston. And my job is to set the strategy, obviously with the team, a very team focused person for the business unit. How are we going to move the business unit forward? What are we going to engage with? I'm reviewing requests for investment. So say there's a new building, I'm typically very involved with the teams, early on, but it does have to come through our formal investment committee, which I'm on. I'm also on many other boards within Skanska. I'm on a board called the Extended Leadership Team, which is the global leadership team plus the BUPs, which I'm one of, but there's many other BUPs at Skanska. I'm on the board of Skanska USA with the other two construction companies, building and civil. So all three of us meet with the person that runs Skanska USA, Richard Kennedy. So I'm on that board. I also chair the board for Skanska Commercial Development US, which I run. Lots of corporate stuff, if you can imagine. Like I am a little bit more disconnected from the projects these days. So there is lots of human resources, lots of staffing things going on, lots of risk. Say there's something that comes up that's focused on risk. It could be some policy change somewhere by the government. It could be, we're negotiating a lease and a tenant wants something very specific that increases risk. I'll help look at that. Trying to inspire and motivate teams, trying to see where the real estate market is going, and position the business unit to go in that direction to make sure we can win. When we get there. Working really closely with our construction partner, Skanska USA Building, that builds all our buildings. We're lucky enough to have them in like house. So it is a very powerful position to be in because we have our contractor in like house and we're self-funded. So we can really focus on, what assets, our customer focus with our assets. But all this stuff, it's a very corporate job. I won't lie, but it's a great job. Skanska, one thing I would say is with anything I do, with all the projects I look at, the team is the highlight, the people is the highlight. And, that's something I really enjoy. I've just gotten to know people from, all over the world and feel fortunate because there's just so many great people to collaborate and work with. So it's fun, but it is a lot of work.
That's awesome. Well, they're lucky to have you. What's like kind of the projects you were talking about before? What was some of your favorite ones that you're particularly proud of, either past or present?
I get asked the favorite questions a lot with whatever it is. Like, hey, I listen to a lot of music. Like, what's your favorite band? And I am the worst person to ask that question to because I don't sit there with like the favorite. And part of it is, I guess, maybe I've just been so fortunate to work on so many great projects with great people, and have great managers, great teams. The highlights, of course, are the building I'm in, 400 Fairview has done incredibly well. If you just think about it during arguably a tough office market across the country, the best buildings are actually doing really great. And this building, I think it's very close to 100% leased. We don't own it anymore. The ground floor is doing incredibly well. It's 10 years later. That's what we want to see. And so you look at 2 and U, that building was just, an incredible experience. The 8, the K, Stone 34. It's really hard for me to pick because I just think about all of the relationships and all of the things that we all work together to create this physical thing that lives beyond us is just such a cool part of this business. There are so many careers you work on things and you don't get to see it. I drive by all these buildings that I really helped with just a fantastic team create these assets. So sorry, I'm punting. I'm not giving you a great answer, but they're like children. I only have one, so I do have a favorite child, so that's easy. But if I had three, there's no way I could pick.
Totally.
Fair enough. I say that to all my students all the time. I don't have a favorite student, but I got a lot of favorite students. But I'm gonna put you back on the spot for a different thing. So, I'll have guest speakers come in, and I always want to ask them or people I interview their one thing. So, looking at Lexi and the other students I have at the UW or young professionals out there looking for something. Do you have one piece of advice that you might give them that they may take into their own career, something that was valuable to you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I kind of became aware of this rule later, which is the 70-20-10 rule. I don't know if you've heard of that rule, but and it really is like 70% of what you learn in life is by doing and getting your hands into something. 20% is mentoring and 10% is formal training. Now, don't take that the wrong way, because you really start with your base at the 10%. That's where you really start to build your base. But as you grow into your career and you graduate and you're off in your career, the more you can focus on, really rolling your sleeves up and doing and diving deep and having the tenacity to keep like going, that's where you're really going to learn and have a learning mindset. It's so much easier. I mean, shoot, I mean, there were so many things. It's like, when I started, it was like a different language, construction, real estate. Now it's so easy. You can go on Google or Chat GTP and find things really, really fast. So, you know, the learning part, you can learn so much so fast, but getting your hands into things and doing is so important. And finding the right teams that you could really, go do that with, and the collaboration with, and finding those right managers, I would say, is extremely important to let you go do that. And you got to start somewhere too. Like, don't, you know, it's actually really great if you don't completely nail exactly where you want to end up. As I said earlier, that is part of the experience. My background in construction and really understanding all those things has been incredibly important for me on the real estate development side. Um, I would not be as good of a developer if I didn't start there. It took some time to get to what I really wanted to like do, but I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't go get a different degree or anything, because I've learned so much. I have so much nuts and bolts on the ground thinking of how things go together, um, as well as working with design teams and developers early on. I really have a customer focused mindset too, from many different ways, right? Because I started off somewhere else. And then I would say one thing, sir, I'm not giving you one thing. I'm doing the same thing. I'm giving you many things. Resourcefulness is a huge thing. I mean, I had a early manager really instill that upon me. Um, and I see it in people. The more you can be resourceful, and that doesn't mean you just go off and do everything on your own, but really have this mentality that, hey, I can go figure this out. But go do your homework. Go really dive like deep, and don't just do it in a short period of time. Resourcefulness is a long-term thing that you need to keep doing. Like, you will learn so much. You will go so much further if you dive like deep and you continue to dive deep. And, really, there's so many things in today's world where things are a little more surfacey or quick, with social media. you know, I would say it's so much more rewarding. You'll be so much better at your job, have way more fun to get way into something. And so those are, I don't know what I say, three different things.
That's fine. One of my favorite instructors, Tim Overland, had introduced me to this concept when I was in his class, and he would say, if you remember just one thing this quarter, it would be this. But he usually said it about every other class. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go with one per class, so that's okay. So Murphy, if people want to connect more and learn more about you or Skanska, what's the best way for them to do so?
The best way to connect with me is to email me and to be patient, because I am traveling a lot. And my email is murphy.mccullough@skanska.com. I am on LinkedIn. I do get so much inquiries on LinkedIn that it's just there's too many inputs. So I'm not a huge, even though I'm very tech savvy, I don't use LinkedIn as much. I do use it, but you might not get connected with me. Yeah, happy to connect. And then again, have some patience because it might take me a little bit to get back to you. And, if you want to meet, I'm happy to meet. It might just take a while because I'm out of town. And then when I get back, often I have lots of things to do to catch up. But I love connecting with folks. So that would be fun.
I want to say, thank you for coming on today, telling us more about Skanska and about yourself. And so we really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us here today.
Thanks for having me. It was great to be here with you. It was great to be here with Lexi as well. So this is
Yes, good to
awesome.
see you. Good to see you.
Exciting.
It's been great. Thank you.